visibility is something that spikes, but then it can be taken away because you don't own the pipes. You own creating trust. So I think that that is what trust feels like, a very durable asset that isn't as affected by all of the changes that we have constantly seen in search, in marketing.
Welcome to Search Party. Today I am really excited to be joined by Erin Simmons, the Managing Director of Women in Tech SEO, where they've helped to build a Slack community of more than 8,000. Is that right?
Yeah, we're upwards of 12,000 members now.
Erin has 15 years of marketing experience, including working at Seer Interactive as their Associate Director of Marketing. And now they help brands connect with their audiences via event management, community management, and digital marketing. Welcome to the show, Erin.
Thanks, Amanda. Thanks for having me.
Women in Tech SEO is amazing. How long ago did you join?
Almost 3 years now. Yeah,
Wow.
time has flown.
Yes, if you're watching this, definitely check it out. I have been in it for a while too. I've been to multiple of their events. They're fantastic.
Yeah, and we have a whole ecosystem going on now, but a lot of it is happening 24/7 in our digital communities. So we have Slack and we have a Facebook group. We have conferences. We have one coming up in a month in Portland. We have one coming up in Philadelphia, and then London next year. We'll come back around. We've been in Berlin. We've been in Melbourne. And we have mentorship program. We have our WTS Knowledge Hub where members write. We exist to basically democratize successful careers for people of marginalized genders. So we do that through providing opportunities, connection, education, and amplification. And we have this kind of vision of, it's a free community, and we want to be not only a community that's free, but a community that pays its members. So you come in and we have opportunities where you can connect with some of our partners and get jobs, where we'll pay you to write for our blog, pay you to speak on our stages. We get a lot of our freelancers out of the community. So yeah, that's what we are looking to do. And if you're interested, welcome in.
Yes, I just wanted to give y'all a shout out because it really is probably the best community out there. So if you haven't joined, join. Erin, as you know, we kick off these shows with a little bit of two truths and a lie. What do you have for me?
Yes. Okay. So mine are, I have dove with bull sharks, climbed Mount Everest, and been featured in a National Geographic's magazine.
Get out of here. No matter which two of those is real. That's awesome. Wow. I have to say, I've gotten almost all of these wrong. Apparently, I'm terrible at this game. I'm going to say, just for probability's sake, the Everest one is not true.
Oh, that's right. That's correct.
Oh, okay. I was like, that's. I know that's a difficult thing, not that you couldn't do it, but I was like, that one's also expensive, I think, right? Like, I feel like people...
I think so.
Or I guess maybe that's just if you, like, do the tour or, like, pay to go to the top.
Yeah, I would probably do. I feel like that's something to do on your own without an expert.
That's right. Bull sharks? Where was this?
In Baja, Mexico.
Really? Okay, what were you in, like, the cage and everything? Like,
no, so it's Cabo Pulmo. It's this beautiful, beautiful kind of remote area in Baja, and you drive way out, and then there's just kind of nothing, and then a little town pops up, and they were a fishing village, and they overfished, and they then were like, we need to do something to kind of like get the economy back here. So they did a very successful like preservation of the water. All the life came back, all the fish came back, all the sharks came back, and it's one of the very few places where it's so healthy that you get this number of sharks. And also there's just so much food down there, and we are not as delicious as all the Jaws propaganda makes us look. So yeah, we went down in the first spot. They said, oh, we probably won't see sharks here. And then you go down and this is the sign for sharks. Somebody put that up and I looked around and there was about 10. So yeah, it was very, very cool.
That's incredible. Yeah, I actually really like sharks. It's just, I didn't even know that was a possibility. Like all I've seen, I had a friend who did in South Africa, I think. And it was like the cage situation. But that's really, really neat. Was the National Geographic thing associated with that, or is that a whole different thing?
No, that was like they were doing a feature on a town I grew up in, and I was just sitting on the corner on a skateboard, and they took a picture of me and my friends. So it's not
No
as
way.
I coupled it in with a couple of things that maybe made it seem a bit more grandeur than it
No, I love
was.
it. All right, Aaron, let's get down to the marketing of it all. What did you bring to the party?
So I brought a party playbook for how community can support your brand and your career.
Nice. Okay. So obviously your experience at Women in Tech SEO probably informed a bit of this, right? But like when you say community even, what are we talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I think all of the things that we talked about in the intro are forms of community, right? Like I went to this small town, this small community, and they brought me in and welcomed me, connected me with them and the nature. You had these groups that you were connecting with that gathered to do something very specific and got a lot out of that. So really community is kind of there is a broad definition to it, but at the heart of it, I think it's anything where people gather for a specific reason and they keep gathering. So that can be these things we talked about. That can be digital community, like we talked about with WTS. It can be events. It can be meetups. It can be a WhatsApp group. It can be a group that meets at the park every Sunday to run, right? There is sort of this like vast definition, but what it is at the heart of it is it's people connecting one to one, one to few, few to few. It's in marketing, I think what we are used to is it's not a two-way conversation, it's one way. You're doing one to many.
Yes, you definitely feel like you're sending things out into the void sometimes.
So yeah, where is it where you have a space to connect one to one to few?
That's a great definition. So, if a brand is kind of ready to make that leap, like you're talking about this playbook, where do you start? Because I think that's probably where people get the most overwhelmed.
Yeah. And I think before I answer that, going back to what you're saying with AI, I do think it's everything. It's post COVID, it's the epidemic of loneliness that our former Surgeon General wrote about and continues to write about. So, yes, we know all of these things, but it's also now with AI, I use, ChatGPT. I've named my ChatGPT Quill, which is yeah, very very fun. It does feel like very engaging and there is some sort of connection in a way, right? Like people are connecting with AI. But the one thing I read recently from an expert on trust, Rachel Botsman, is the thing that is lacking is AI doesn't need you. Like, Amanda, throughout my career, you've supported me, you've brought me onto the show. There's been, like, different situations where I've needed you, right? And I've asked for support and vice versa. So it's connecting with humans. There is just so many things like that where yes, people are using these tools, but through using those tools, there are going to feel a lack. And yeah, community is surging because of that. So back to your question, when brands are thinking about that, I think a lot of brands start by saying, okay, so let's start a community. And I would say, don't do that. It's running a community is very challenging. Takes a lot of time, and not just a lot of time to run, but the startup. It takes a lot of time to get going. And I know, with your community, I'm sure that you felt it's the setup, it's the getting people in,
Yes.
it's the engaging people. That whole wheel takes a while to start to turn. So what I would say is go out and find a community and start to engage in it as a member. You don't have to jump right in and sponsor, partner, like all of these things. Just start seeing what's going on in there. Is it right for you? And usually what I say is think about if you're going for your brand, think about your brand's values. What do you value diversity, right? Like this is probably the easiest example for me to give. And are you an SEO SaaS tool? Do you want to help create more of a gender balance in our industry? Then those things combined would lead you to a community like Women in Tech SEO. But in the same vein, if you are I don't know, a local shoe shop, you're going to want to be showing up to the park every Sunday when that running group is happening. So it's finding, these things that are values-based important to your brand, but then also actually have some sort of definite alignment with your brand or even like a tangential alignment.
So when somebody's like, okay, so step one is basically, why don't you see if there's a community to join rather than building from scratch? Because you're absolutely right. I mean, I started the Slack group last year, realized how much work it was going to be to maintain engagement and differentiate. Really, what it came down to was the differentiation, because there are so many Slack groups.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, how is this going to be like that different? And I realized that it wasn't. And so I'm pivoting to something completely different. But I think you're right that before you make the decision to do that, there are probably opportunities around for a brand to engage. At what point would somebody decide, like, okay, this is not enough, or like we feel like we have the opportunity to create a community? Like, what are those signals that somebody would need to see to be like, oh, actually, I think we have enough like buzz or enough like community members who wanted to say something, you know, where it's the right fit for them to create one.
The thing with community is you don't go in as a brand, you go in as a person. So the one thing that I think a lot of companies are missing with their community marketing is you'll hire a field manager or a community marketing field manager, and you'll invest in sponsoring events, invest in sponsoring communities, but you won't send a field agent in. It's this idea of like, oh, if we're showing up there and showing our brand, we're visible, people are gonna, but it's not about that. You need to actually have people that go into the community and engage one to one. So whoever that person is, those people are, when they start to grow their network in a way that suggests, if we started a community today, these people that we have that have been engaging in different communities for a while could start to fill it. That, I think, is your tipping point when you start to see their almost personal brands grow in a way, and they have that trust. And of course, the brand sits behind them, so the brand is getting that trust passed through to them. That's sort of the time that I would start to think maybe it's time to start our own thing.
Mm, that's really insightful. Because I've done this like when I was a marketer, I used to, you know, pay for or sponsor newsletters and do that sort of stuff. And I feel like there's two different levels of this, right? Because like there's the level of which I think a lot of people do it of like, yeah, we're going to sponsor that because we want leads, right? You're talking about something different, which is like you're going to sponsor that, maybe you get some leads, but you're doing it to show a contribution to a community. Like what are some suggestions you have? Because I think that this is something that's not as common for brands to do, of like, how do you take it from a sponsorship to actually participating, contributing outside of that like one-off thing? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I love that question. And I think I'm out there talking about trust, right? And how visibility right now is so important. But you don't just need to be visible, you need to be trusted. And trust is something that is earned from coming back again and again and showing that you can be helpful. You're competent enough to be helpful in these certain situations that people are challenged with. And you keep showing up and keep growing that track record. So people come in and yeah, they get that spike, they're visible, but visibility is temporary. So when folks see that, it is enough for them to be like, okay, there is something here, I want to get in more. So then it is engaging in those longer term partnerships, or like I said, just become a member and, engage as a member and see what it's like. Don't just go in trying to help everyone. If you're just coming in and, I mean, it sounds almost to me as I'm thinking about it in my head, like, you should do this, here's this. Even if it is helpful, after a while, if you're not asking for something back, it can seem just a little imbalanced. So I think we are coaching folks, even when they place newsletter sponsorships. If you're not a known brand in our community and you come in with a promo code for your software, it's not going to do well. If you're not a known brand in our community and you come in with a really helpful webinar, which, yes, is still lead gen in a way, that is going to be received much differently from the community. And you are going to see, more of a take to that. So it is about finding those very, very helpful resources if you are doing those one-off spots. But I think it is a completely different playbook if you're committing to partnering more long-term or becoming a member more long-term in how you actually engage in the community and grow that trust.
Yeah, it's fascinating to see like how we can evolve those different opportunities and think about them differently. And I think this is something happening in marketing overall, right? Like if on the SEO side, moving away from traffic being, the end all be all metric, and we start thinking about, I love these nebulous concepts of trust. I talk about it all, I talk about brand authority all the time, but it is very difficult to measure, even though it's really critical. And I agree with you that trust is really critical. It's difficult to measure. But I think that there are these opportunities to say, instead of just doing this one lead gen opportunity, which hopefully, it helps in that way, but how do you expand it past that? You're already identifying that as an audience that makes sense for what you're doing. Why not participate in a vaster sense? Anyway, I can obviously talk a lot. I want to give the mic back to you to go through this playbook. What does it look like, like in the day to day? Like, what do you need in order to succeed at this?
Yeah, I think what brands need, and I think what we're seeing the start of is, I do think in 2 to 3 years, community marketing is going to be a line item on everyone's marketing budget. There will be teams, there will be Google Analytics channels and measurement that still won't actually be accurate, just as everything is today. And I already kind of see the like trail of that happening. And I think really what companies need is, you need people that are actually going to go in. You need to take your subject matter experts, the people who actually know your product, your discipline, your service, and you need to give them time to engage in these communities, and you need to give them money to go out and show up at events, go and not just speak, but attend. So it is a matter of actually carving out real, like, business assets, time and money to support community. And in my opinion, it's about having, you're not hiring a community manager. You're not hiring someone that's just, great with people. You need to have subject matter experts. You need to have the people that you would hire to write your blog posts. You need to have the people that you would hire to talk to your clients, and you need to be having them go out and talking one-on-one, one to few with those audiences. So I think when companies are ready to do that, and I think you can test it, right? And we do see that a lot with, marketing managers will come in as sort of a brand's community rep. And it does work. And it's, again, different playbooks. But yeah, we see different folks coming through, and we don't necessarily have what I'm talking about, that a lot of those like subject matter experts coming from brands. But what we do have, and what is, kind of the thing to look at to mimic, is the people, our community members, are subject matter experts. So why would you put, say, a salesperson in with them? Why would you put just a community manager that has maybe like managed and events and communities before, but they don't maybe have depth in what's actually being talked about in the community? So actually taking those folks that, yes, do the work and do the work so well, and understanding that you can pull them out back from that work a little bit, in the same way that you would do to ask them to speak on stages or write blog posts or share in a client meeting, and have them show up in these communities for your greater audience. And a lot of, yeah, it's not just about, I think the key with community is, once you have those people in there, what you start to see is, you're not trying to capture the community. That's not actually what the play is. What you are doing is, you are, in a lot of ways, helping the community to become an army of influencers for your brand. So I'll go through this part pretty quickly to get to the meat, but just with what we're seeing today, I feel like when we talk about community marketing, people think, oh, so I'm going and I'm marketing just to these people. But that's not what you're doing. You are leveraging these very, very, like, brilliant people who are out and about in your industry, and you're finding what they need the most, and you are helping them to get it. So we see this happening in a couple, like, in, I have 3 industries here. So e-commerce, TomboyX is an e-commerce company, and you see a bunch of different folks sharing their TomboyX, tagging them. That's me. This was before I knew I was moving to London, but apparently This was kind of forecasting my future. And then you go to Reddit and you see, people are again mentioning this brand. So it's being mentioned all over the place. And then AI search, organic search, it's coming up, right? So we know this pattern. Everyone's kind of talked this to death. Mentions are kind of the key here. So we see it again with my obsession with diving, people tagging Portcaris divers, mentioning it on Reddit. It's showing up. Profound people. This is our Slack community. So not something that ChatGPT and AI are reading, but this is, an example of people are sharing in here. So you see it happening here, but then we also see it happening in the external channels. And they, again, are showing up in some of these tools. So that's kind of end game, people vouching for you on their own everywhere. And that's what you get with community. So you're earning their trust, and search and AI is uplifting them. So this really, I think, is the power of community. Visibility is a byproduct of trust. So you earn trust in a community. And the key is, I feel like even when I talk about it, it feels like, I don't know, I'm making it very like, oh, go in and leverage and this and that. I'm using all my business speak. And that does feel a little dirty, because you actually need to show up and help people. You actually need to want to be there, which is why it's important to also put subject matter experts in who will get value and who will care about the conversation that's going on. But this, I think, is where it really shows up in community. You show up in communities where trust is already being exchanged. So it's this, you're consistent. So Dana is a community member, and over almost 1,400, I'm sure this number is way higher, like posts in our Slack community over the years. And Dana's super helpful. I love, love, love this one here. Dana's sharing a resource that's not Dana's resource, not her company's resource. It's from something from Moz, something from, Ruth Burr-Reedy, because it is the most helpful answer she could give in this situation. So this is the kind of helpful that I'm talking about. You're not showing up with people who want to name drop your brand in every single thing, because what happens is it's going to be seen through. And then the last bit of this is, you got to show up and be yourself. So again, like, you're not showing up as a salesperson, you're not showing up as a marketing rep. You're showing up and you're talking more vulnerably, asking for help, sharing what's on your mind, sharing that you're excited or that you don't know something, right? Because you're not your brand, you're a person behind your brand. Dana runs Kickpoint, but she shows up in the community as Dana. And this is the key to what is happening, right? So when other people are asking questions about analytics, about any of the many things that Dana has helped people with in our community, whether it's on Slack or it's on social, or it's in email chains or in Slack messages, or the person in a client, someone sitting next to you at work, people are saying, here, read this from Dana. Her name is coming up out of the voices of the people that she's helped supported in community. So that, to me, is the power of community. And then Dana tracks back to Kickpoint. I'm sure if, we sat down with Dana and said, if you look at all of your clients over the past few years, how many of them do you think came from some sort of touch point in Women in Tech SEO? There has to be. There is, like, Dana is absolutely getting value out of Women in Tech SEO as a subject matter expert, but she is also getting value out of Women in Tech SEO as a business owner. There's just no way that, those two things can be disconnected.
She's a great example because she's the fourth episode of this show. Because I've seen her, I think we met at a conference a while back, but I have her in my head as the analytics person. And that takes, many of those instances of exactly what you're talking about. Like, she is not just doing her job, she is in these communities, like, posting really helpful articles, like, engaging with people on LinkedIn, that sort of thing. So I, personally see the examples that you're sharing of, like, yeah, that makes sense. It's so interesting to think about it, though, of like, we do talk a lot about visibility, but we think about it as brands. And like, this is like your inroad of, like, you're really bringing it back to the people as one of these routes to getting that visibility. It's not literally like, oh, I need this brand to mention me. We used to talk about this in PR. It would be like, you're pitching a publication, but you're pitching a human being who's a reporter first, you know?
It's like you're fighting for visibility in spaces that are crowded, right? And also spaces where visibility resets. Like that's the other thing with trust. Trust is durable and visibility resets. So on the next algorithm,
Talk more about that. I like that framing. I haven't really heard that.
so let's use Dana as an example. Kick points off the map. You can't find them on the internet anywhere. But are people still recommending Dana in Slack, on LinkedIn, in email chains? Yeah, absolutely. So visibility is something that, spikes, and visibility is something that, yes, you can rank, number one in traditional search for so long, but then it can be taken away because you don't own the pipes. You own creating trust, right? Like you have the ability to pull the levers on that and to show up in different places in the ways that that are going to be valuable to other people. So you own that asset. You own your trust. And of course, we do things that nick our trust all of the time, but you also own the ability to repair that trust. So I think that is what trust feels like, a very durable asset that isn't as affected by all of the changes that we have constantly seen in search, in marketing, and yeah.
I love the way you articulated that because it's something that I feel like I've tried to say it and I haven't really had the right words, and that's why I wanted you to talk more about it because I was like, yes, like the word durable. I like that framing of it because I agree. I think it was like one of those. I think I had like that hypothetical situation in my head of like there are brands you don't even sometimes you're not even researching. You're like, I already know that I trust these people because of some, at some point I saw them in a community or I saw something they did and I just go straight to them. And that's where the branded search stuff comes in, right? And that's like why it's one of the better metrics is because it's like, wow, those people just went straight to you. And that to me, when we're at that level, that's approaching the trust level, right? But you're right, like the internet could explode and there's left is the search bar and if they think of you, that's where you want to be. You don't want to have to be relying on everything. So I know we said that measurement is complicated. How are you recommending people do it now? Brand search, I imagine, is one of the main ways. Is there anything else that you're recommending that people look at just to see if directionally you're even like engaging in the right place or, that it's because you're right. I do think that people worry about taking their smartest folks and saying, hey, also do this thing, right? So how do you advise people who are trying to advocate for this at their organizations be like, this is how we're going to know that we're on the right track?
Hmm. Yeah, so I think there's a couple of things. I think it's the brand mentions, but also who are you deploying? You should be looking at their mentions as well. And it's the branded search is a good one. That's actually not one that I think to recommend. I think I find it a little hard when I think about WTS to kind of tie a lift in branded search. It's almost like the branded mentions tend to come a bit with women in tech SEO. So we'll both be mentioned often. So that one kind of sits outside the community, more of your like, meta is what you're doing in the community rising outside the community. But in the community, we run a what we call a brand awareness survey. So we put all of our partners in a giant Google Doc, and it takes, well, we have, I think, like 35 partners, something like that, but it takes members 2 minutes to fill out, and that's kind of intentional. We want them to just be like kind of quickly thinking, and for every partner it's a scale of 1 to 4, and 1 is like, I don't know who this is at all, and 4 is like, I know everything about them. So over time we run it every 6 months, and we do see these like very beautiful increases for a lot of partners. Sitebulb is a great example. So Jojo Furnibal is the marketing manager at Sitebulb, and Jojo has a whole section on the Sitebulb website that's Women in Tech SEO blogs. She finds writers from Women in Tech SEO, many who have not been published before, and she gives them the opportunity to publish and be shared and amplified by Sitebulb, by Women in Tech SEO, and of course by the community members, because we love sharing out things that are created by other members. So she's built up all of this trust, and she's helped a lot of people like get their first publishing thing out there, get some of their ideas written up, and launches this survey. Everybody fills it out and finds all these really interesting insights where people are basically like, JavaScript for Tech SEO, how? What? I need it, but I can't figure it out. So then she grabs two community members, two brilliant, brilliant folks, Tori Gray and Sam Torres, and she says, help me create a training. They do this 3-part training for JavaScript for tech SEOs. There's over, I'm sure it's up above this now, but 3,500 marketers have taken it after they put it on demand. It kept kind of rolling through. And we have a case study up on our website where I think the number is higher now. I want to say it's 150,000 annual revenue a year has come from that asset. So it goes to ROI. It works. It does, but it takes time, right? So Sitebulb is one of those ones that when we ran the brand awareness survey, their brand awareness soared. But Jojo isn't saying Sitebulb every 5 minutes in Slack. Jojo's going in and being like, hey, here's a resource. Hey, that's a really interesting topic. I've been wanting to talk about that more. Can I drop you an email? Can we write something up together? She's finding people in the community that want to grow their personal brand, and she's giving them a mechanism to do that. And she's earning that trust. And then she's listening to what people need, and she's creating new resources. And even, further, like blowing that up by, again, including community members, and it's showing. And she does all these little, like, things all the way to the visibility is a byproduct of trust, where that asset has a certification, so it's like a training program. The amount of people who shared that certification as a LinkedIn post, have it in their LinkedIn profile, Sitebulb certified. I think it's a WTS Sitebulb Gray Dot collaboration certification, like tagging Sitebulb. People are, she's taken something that's one-to-one, and I think this is kind of the key. Yes, I'm saying like one-to-many, we're just shouting at people, but also she went from one-to-one, one-to-few, and then created a scaled asset based on the knowledge she learned. And now she's got a one-to-many that's doing that trust work out in the industry.
Because what better way of getting the insights you want anyway from marketing than to be so engaged with your target audience at that level, on a one-to-one level?
Yeah.
Because that's what you described it beautifully. I really do like how you talk about it. It reminds me of conversations I've had around networking, which, the word networking is just so, people just like recoil at it, understandably, because there is like this connotation of manufactured or something give and take. But
Yeah.
there are times where I'm like, I have a love-hate relationship with it, because I also hate when it's like really forced, or if I go somewhere and I know I have to network or something, it feels unnatural. But when you are just simply getting to know people and like, talking to the people you like and truly building those connections, it's the best thing ever. And it bridges into community for me. Like, again, this is just me personally, but there are times that this industry is hard.
Yeah.
And it's been people that I've met years ago who will show up and offer those like words of encouragement and support and be like, no, you'll be able to get through this. I went out on my own a year and a half ago and was consulting, and the amount of people who were just so kind. And I was like, they don't need anything from me. And even if later, if I can help them, that's not why they did it. And you can tell. You can just tell when
Yeah.
that's the case, right? And I feel like it's so similar to what you're saying about community. It's like you're showing up, a Sitebulb. I did notice that to me, just when you said sponsors, that's who I thought of, because I did see them very present and in different ways outside of, just being the sponsor. Not that, being a sponsor is great, but yeah. So anyway, it's just, you're talking about a lot of things that I've thought about a lot, even as like an individual marketer, thinking about my personal brand. But it is something that brands really need to, and here again is one of those words, leverage, right? All these words are they have this like icky, connotation.
Yeah.
But if you do it sincerely, then it's a really impactful thing.
Yeah. And yeah, I feel like this has been a great conversation too for me to actually catch how much I do uh kind of use this like business speak when I talk about community, and it makes me feel a little like cringy, but I kind of love that as a challenge. Like, how can I talk about this stuff in more of that like, look, if we didn't have partners, we can't have this sustainable community. This is a lot of work. We're a team of 4 now that are able to run this and keep it open and free and sustainable and valuable for members. Like at this stage, we need funding, and our community will always be free. We don't want to take money from our members. Not that that is ever like that is a viable and valuable way to create community, because again, community needs to be sustained.
Right.
So we need that in the same way that no members, no community. So there is this beautiful reciprocal value idea where if people are coming in with the right intentions and sure, yeah, you know that value is going to come in out of it, but you need to actually want to be there, and people will be able to tell if you are just there to sell them something or just there to say your name, your brand name, a few hundred times. People will know the difference in that type of community.
Yeah. It's like that's the wonderful thing about Reddit, because I feel like Reddit becoming so popular taught a lot of people that you can't just show up and, spew marketing speak. It's just never going to work. And
Yeah.
it's the same application for any other community. It's a very human thing to be able to identify, like, this is manipulation, or this is, false and with, business pretenses or whatever.
Yeah.
But honestly, I can continue talking about this forever. But thank you so much for coming on and walking us through this and how you're approaching it and how you're thinking about it, because I agree that it's going to continue to grow, and hopefully, it should continue to grow in popularity. Erin, if people want to learn more about what you've got going on, what you're writing, where can they find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on LinkedIn. Erin Simmons Freelance is the little end of my URL. And you can find me all over the Women in Tech SEO site. So if you want to check more about Women in Tech SEO, hit our About page or our Join page if you want to join. If you want to learn more about some of the things that I shared with Dana, I have an article on Women in Tech SEO called Visibility is a Byproduct of Trust. So you can check that out. And then, yeah, come see us in Portland, Philly, London. Come on
Yeah, they're
to
everywhere. They're
WTS Fest.
worldwide. Yeah.
We're everywhere. We're digital. We're in person.
I
You
love
can you
it.
can find us all over. But yeah, Amanda, thank you for having me on. I'm excited that you're kicking this off. I'm excited to hear about I saw Crystal go out, and that you're gonna have Dana on. So yeah, thank you for supporting our community and amplifying these brilliant voices for us to learn from. And thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming on, and thank you for building, you and Arij putting this community together has been I I've been impacted, and I know so many people who've been impacted. And it's to me that's got to be such a cool feeling. Like that accomplishment is you can see the way that it's changed people's careers. So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you all so much for listening. If you want an invite to the after party, sign up for our newsletter. That's where we drop exclusive behind the scenes footage and where guests answer our spicy question of the month. This month it is, what is a popular SEO or AI visibility tactic you think people are overhyping? Until next time, keep learning, keep testing, and keep showing up.